Hello then, lads and ladies, sorry. Muddled up there at the beginning there, sorry. Anyway, hello lads and ladies, welcome back finally to another manga review. Sorry about that, I know you guys don't, some of you probably don't like that, but again, it's what I do. You're here for the cracks, good for you. If not, move along. We are here today to finish off, well, I'd say finish off because I can't find the last volume, unfortunately. I've looked everywhere, can't find it. But I might probably like look at it online somewhere and then might go over it later on. I don't know, but I will probably cover it sooner or later. But for now, we are going to do the ninth, not not the last volume, but the ninth volume of Konohana Kitan. Now, with Konohana Kitan Volume 9, it goes over some of the things we already know about Yae-san basically losing her memory. Like, we very much delve into, like, the psyche of Yae-san and all of the memories she's had up until that point. She's basically regressing from her eldest self to barely not knowing who Sakura is, basically, which is quite heartbreaking, really, because there's, like, this one moment where Sakura kind of like cries out for her mum, and then Yae-san like walks over to her, picks her up, and then says that she's a beautiful little girl and whoever her mother is would be lucky to have her. Sakura looks very shocked at this, I believe, and I think that's partly the reason why she doesn't talk that much really now these days, really. But that is like brought up later on when Kiri basically talks to her. Sakura basically was silent throughout most of the times because she didn't like want one of her last friends to leave her, basically. Something like that. It's very confusing, I know. But Kiri didn't realise that after all this time of protecting Sakura from the truth, she was actually hurting her. Basically, Sakura wanted to help out around Konohana Day. She wanted to help work and do stuff here and there, basically. It's not that she didn't help out when she could. Like, there were times when guests would come to see Sakura personally. Like, there's that one with the chap who was like the God of War or something. I might not have gone over it. I might have done. This was like months back when I did this, so it's kind of hard for me to remember. He basically comes and like just chills with Sakura, just like makes her these cool looking little knick-knack toys that she gets to play with, basically. There's something invigorating about seeing a child enjoy themselves to the fullest extent, really. Now, I don't have kids, I have nieces and nephews. Like, a few of them are grown up now, but I still have a couple of young'uns, and some of my no, only one of my nephews has two little girls, and he is probably experienced the same thing, really. When you're a father, that just changes everything, really. You know, it's something inside you that just switches. Like, you want to protect the child, you want to basically give them the best future they have, basically. Everything else goes out the window. You, your partner, everything for that child, basically. So it was quite lovely to see Kiri have that close bond with Sakura. And in the anime, it's kind of alluded to them being a couple for some strange reason, which doesn't make any sense because the ages are vastly different. And if you only watched it from the anime's point of view, you would think that's weird, you know? Like, why aren't they, like, explaining more on this situation? Why is it not explaining on the relationship? Simply enough, they ran out of funding and they didn't have time. It's a shame, really, because I felt like if they give the anime time to, like, play out its filler, play out its bull, you know, build up that what's it to it, then it becomes better. It's like the whole thing with, like, Boku no Academia, or whatever you want to call it. People like the idea of, like, superheroes, like these mutants that have powers and stuff like that, but they're humans. Not like it's been done before, like with Marvel and DC and stuff like that. It's in anime form, basically. It kind of reminds me of Sky High, if you've ever seen that film. Very good, underrated film. I won't spoil it for you, but it's very good. It's basically about this high school that's up in the sky. It's school in the sky, basically. It's why it's called Sky High. And every student there has superpowers. And there's this. It focuses on this boy who's got parents who can fly and has super strength. And he's kind of upset that he doesn't have either, basically, until he finds out that he has strength. and then later on he finds out he can fly. So some interesting things with that. I won't spoil the rest of it. Go and watch it. It's a good, fun little flick for you to just, you know, mindlessly drone on about a film, basically. But it's good. It's got some interesting moments. Yeah, I'm talking about another completely different thing. Yes, Konohana Kitan. I really like their relationship, Sakura and Kiri, because it's kind of coming from a wrong place at a certain point, because Kiri kind of like feels obligated to look after Sakura, even though that's not the case, basically. Sakura kind of feels hurt that she's not being allowed to help work around the place, basically. She kind of feels like she's overprotecting her, which is understandable. She's basically doing with Sakura what Kiri's mother did with her. She didn't like tell her anything, basically. They thought they were protecting the child by not like clothing them in and stuff like that. And that happens on the most usual occasions where people will tend to get the wrong end of the stick, which is why you should always hear both sides of the story and then from a third party, basically, so it all adds up at the end of the day, basically. But again, we wouldn't have a book then if that was the case. So it kind of goes over that one point when she's lying out in the field. Yai-san, sorry. She's lying out in the middle of the field. I believe they're foxgloves, very poignant. Or they might just be foxtails. I think foxtails are like these types of reed plants. Yeah, they're foxtails, my apologies, not foxgloves. They'd be poisoned by now. Kiri's like holding her, and Yai-san kind of like looks at her as like she's her mother, basically. So she's like remembering back to like when she was very, very young, like seeing her mother for the first time. Like the earliest memories you normally have as a person, I think my earliest memory when I was a kid, I was about 4, I think. I got up one morning, I had no idea where I was. I went downstairs, I looked at my mum and dad in the living room. I remember this clearly, I don't know why. My dad was reading the newspaper, checking who won the cricket that day. I think England beat Bangladesh by about 312 runs or something like that. And then my mum was smoking something in the living room, which was interesting because she wouldn't like it in the house, so she would always have the window open. And she looks at me and goes, "Hello, darling, you up?" And then I said, "Who are you?" I literally said, "Who are you?" to my own parents. She laughed her ass off, and Dad was too busy reading the blooming newspaper to even like catch what I said. But then once he found out what I said, he just laughed his ass off, basically. So yeah, that's my earliest memory of being a child, basically, like 3 or 4 years old and stuff like that. It's very strange, the things you remember. So with Yai-san in this situation, it's quite touching, it's quite heartbreaking to see, you know, this very supportive, very lovely woman and mother basically lose her mind. It's quite upsetting. It's the same type of thing with people with dementia and Alzheimer's. I mean, in a plus, it's kind of a good thing, really, good and bad. It's good for the person who is who has the ailment, because when you have it, you don't know you're suffering, basically. To you, you're just living a day over and over and over again, basically. You have no knowledge of it. I mean, like me right now, I could be doing that right now. I could be filming this video to you over and over again. People will be probably looking at this and thinking, why is this person doing this video over and over again, saying the exact same stuff? And then you realise, oh, you know, so it's a very heartbreaking disease because it affects those around you. It really drives the hurts to the other people when, you know, this person that like raised you and cared for you all of your years of your life just suddenly doesn't know who you are. That is destroying. That is the most horrible, heartbreaking thing you could ever experience. Like, I could go literally years of abuse from a partner, you know. I'm not saying I would. You should never put up with abuse from a partner, man or woman, basically. You should never put up with that stuff. But I'm just saying I'd rather put up with that type of abuse because it's somewhat manageable over my mother saying, "Who are you?" That is really fucking destroying for me, because for me, my mother was there for me ever since I was a little boy up to what I am now. She has been my rock, and honestly, Whenever I dated people, I basically had to tell them this in a joking manner, but I was deadly serious. Like, if you don't get on with my mum, you don't get on with me, basically, because my mum is a little bit on the how do I put this? She's very blunt. She's gotten to that age where she doesn't give a shit anymore, and I praise her for that. But there are times when it gets her and myself into trouble, so I have to kind of like remind her, like, different times, mum, different times, calm down, you know. You're going to cause blood pressure and all that stuff. And she's like, I don't give a fuck, you know. That's what I love her for, basically. She's brutally honest. And I'd hate to lose that. I would hate to lose that spark of light from my life, basically. So it's the same with Sakura and Kiri, basically. But with Kiri, it's more because she feels like this is the first time she's ever been able to connect and open herself up with another person. I remember the first time that I did that, and you know, a couple of months later, it kind of blew up in my face. So that's partly the reason why I don't do that anymore, basically. So if you want to know why I'm still the stone cold faced, black hearted bastard, you know why. Well, you don't know why, but we can save that for another day, maybe. Maybe. When I'm at that point when I can finally say that I'm at peace, you know. I can definitely say that I'm happy. I'm happy, I'm not sad. But I can definitely say that, you know, true peace is the killer of humanity, in a certain sense. I feel like there needs to be conflict and emotion, but also logic to counterbalance it, basically, or otherwise it's not a very fulfilling life that you're leading, basically, being too stagnant and being too peaceful, basically, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying that every single day should be like drama and stuff like that. I hate drama. I can't stand drama. I like my peace. But again, you have to like find those motions of trying to fill it with something of an activity or enjoyment, basically, or like a type of work to stimulate yourself, basically. Like, I hear the odd talk of people talking about depression these days, and it's kind of linked to this current generation due to the fact that there's this big upheaval of everything, basically. So it's kind of an interesting subject to talk upon, but too boring for you guys to hear. You come for a book review and I'm talking to you about depression and stuff. I don't mean to, sorry, I just like to ramble. But yeah, it's a heartbreaking scene. She slowly fades away, like you finally hear her last breath. Kiri just bawls her eyes out, basically, and she goes to Sakura and says, I'll take care of you from now on. So her future in Konohana Kitan is stuck there, basically. And then it goes over some filler moments between the characters. They all jump into the hot spring, have some dinner, and then carry on work as usual. And then there's this little interesting moment where Satsuki basically comes up to Okami and says, I can't do this anymore. I don't think that my place is here. I've lost my reason for being a shrine maiden because my sister never wanted to be a shrine maiden in the first place. So when you lose that motivation for something, you're then lost in that motion of like, well, what do I do? What do I do? Like, oh, my life is meaningless. What do I do? You know, so Okami has basically said to her, like, if you want to go out and explore the world, which you have not, you've lived here and worked here ever since you were a child, so you know nothing of the world, go out and enjoy it and travel, and hopefully then when you come back you will always have a room here to stay, but we want you to go and enjoy life as it is, basically, which she does. And there's this funny little art piece, actually. It's not funny, it's actually quite cute, actually. She has a hat that fits her head. Another picture of her in a shrine gear, like her shrine robe of her sister. Very gorgeous. I absolutely love Asian dresses, basically. It looks fantastic, basically. Especially during ceremonial things. I think most patterns, I think it depends on the female and the flower, but most female yukata dress patterns tend to have flowers on them. Like how with Okami's there's roses, and with Sakura's they're like daisy petals, basically, which is very interesting because I think daisies are like a symbolistic idea of peace in a certain sense. whilst in Slovakia, I think daisies are a sign of death, so that kind of makes perfect sense for her attitude and her looks, basically. She's as pretty as a daisy, but she's got death on her mind. Here's the picture. Her hat is fantastic. Got like the little ears on the top of her hat. It's not the type. It's like the one. It's not technically a flat cap. It's close to it. But if she wore a flat cap, that just wouldn't work, basically. I was kind of hoping the top would be flatter. But anyway, there's this moment where Satsuki's leaving, and Yuzu is not there to see her off. And Satsuki finds that strange, but she doesn't think anything of it for some odd reason. After all this time, you think, like, oh, why is Yuzu not here? I've like, bonded the most with her. Anyway, she goes off, she says goodbye and all that. And then before she heads to the train station, Yuzu runs up to her, crying her eyes out, saying that she wants to come with her. Basically, she feels like a big part of Konohana would be lost without her, so she kind of wants to explore the world with her. It's kind of like a reminder as to say, like, you know, a piece of Konohana is going with you, so she's trying to say that, basically. Which is quite lovely, it's quite touching, really, and there's this moment where they just talk for a bit, and it's quite lovely because most of the time Satsuki's either rimming Yuzu, like taking the piss out of her, or calling her stupid, and Yuzu is just giggling and all that crap, and it's like, this isn't like a proper relationship, you wouldn't do this shit. But they just have a normal conversation for a change, and then I just think to myself, thank God you are actually like talking about your feelings, you're talking about what your goals are in life, you're talking about like the past and stuff like that. It's a normal conversation and no longer about jokes, basically. I don't mind the jokes, but sometimes there's serious situations and seriousness within a book that you have to take seriously and not throw a joke in. That's partly why I'm semi-serious whenever I play a playthrough series, like with Elden Ring at the moment. Obviously, you've noticed in my playthroughs, if you've been watching them, that I do the odd joke, or I do the odd edit that like adds to the joke. But sometimes when the scene is so serious, I'll let the scene play, but then I think back on that bit, and then I think, oh, I could have made a joke out of that. So then I add the joke in afterwards, even though I should have added the joke in during the moment, but then that takes away from the seriousness of the moment. This book does that very well when it adds comedy with seriousness, but it's kind of flip-floppy. It goes backwards and forwards a bit too much, so it's kind of like, are you serious? Are you joking? Which is it, basically? So, small little rant, it's not a big deal, basically. So, they have the little words, and then they get on a little train, which basically takes them from universe to universe, I believe. Like, this is the gist. This is like the preview in the next volume, which I will probably cover sometime later on in due time. It's just trying to find the goddamn volume. I don't know where to find it. I've been looking for it everywhere. I can't find it. It's sold out, or it's not being sold anymore. It's very strange. I feel like I have to go to some underground market to find it or something. It's going to be like translated from Korean or something like that. But yeah, it just ends with them sat on the train next to each other, just looking out at the stars, basically. I think that's how it ends. Don't quote me on it. Just check. No, it ends with them boarding the train. My apologies. It kind of looks like C571. That means something. It's like a proper steam train as well. This is the steam train that they get on, basically. And it's hard for me to say. I've only been on a steam train once, like back when I was 20 or something. I think I've got the video of it when I did like a little KSI moment where I'm like screaming on one of the carriages, basically, just for a giggle, basically. And yeah, it was in Devon, I believe. I really enjoyed it. It was actually the first time my mum went on a steam train as well, which was funny because she's been around since 1955. So you think she would have at least jumped on one at one point, but no, that's never been the case. So it was quite a lovely moment for me and my mum to share, basically, being our first time going on a steam train. I don't know why I want to do this. I keep trying to tell my mum, we're going to go do this, because I love Harry Potter, and I don't mind a good film or two, especially the first and second one with King's Cross Station, where Harry like walks up to the ticket guy, and he says, "Excuse me." He's like in the most sincere, little like very Chelsea accent you could come across. Like, "Excuse me, do you know how to get to platform 9 3/4?" And he's like, 9 3/4? You think you're being funny, don't ya? It's just a kid, and he's like taking the piss out of him. Like, why? And then they run through the wall between platforms 9 3/4. Between platform 9 and 10, and then they get on the Hogwarts Express. Basically, I want to go on that, by the way. I want to find the Hogwarts Express. I want to go on it. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna do it because that looks awesome. Yeah, I want to go to King's Cross and run at the wall. You're probably looking at me like, this fucking idiot. Are you joking? No. I want to run at that wall. And my mum always says to me, how many times do you think idiots take the opportunity to run at that wall between 10 and 9? And what do they think is going to happen? Well, you never know, Mum. They might end up in Hogwarts. You never know. I want to do it. I want to do it. I don't care if people look at me like I'm an idiot. I don't care, because honestly, that's nostalgia. Like, that's nostalgia. And they did like a scene like that in Deathly Hallows Part 2, where I'm not going to spoil it for you because surprisingly so many people haven't seen Harry Potter. But they add like a scene in with King's Cross Station, but it's not actually King's Cross Station. I know I'm being a bit vague, but of course I don't want to spoil things for you guys, you know. So definitely go watch Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows, especially because of what's involved with Alan Rickman in it, because his portrayal of Snape in that is so goddamn good that it was the first and only Harry Potter film that made me cry. Like, what happened with Snape and Harry's mother, Lily, broke my fucking heart because it was so goddamn touching and so heartbreaking at the same time. Of course, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just saying, go watch the film or read the book. I'd say watch the film because you get more of a dramatic impact, and Alan Rickman plays the scene so fucking well. Especially this one line that he says that just really wrenches my heart every time I hear him say it. It kind of makes like that little thing inside my ticker just tick over every time I hear him say it, basically. And it still makes me cry to this day because it's so bloody well acted, basically. So yeah. Funny, I come on to do a book review about some manga and I end up talking about depression, politics and Harry Potter. So, where life takes you, eh? Anyway, it's a little late here now. Sorry for the late review, and also I'm sorry about yesterday. I was meant to do a review, but I had some troubles with my bike. I was trying to fix it myself, cannot do it, found out the axle is completely busted, so I had to take that down to Halfords. They said, sorry, we don't have any room, you've got to wait until like a month or so later in advance before we can do any repairs. So I went down to my old family's friend's bike shop, Strodwick's. That did nothing. They're closed down, it's used as a storage unit, so I just think, where the fuck do I go? I'm walking around Brighton, like literally with my bike in tow, asking people left, right and centre, you know where the bike repair shop is? You know where the bike repair shop is? And then this one saint of a person comes up and then says, excuse me mate, are you looking for a bike repair shop? I said, yes mate, do you know where it is? He says, down that road, take a left and straight ahead. You'll find yourself a bike shop. Mate, I love you, thank you, whatever your name is, I'll see you some other time. So I jotted off on my bike and went into the repair shop, and he said, we will send you a quote soon. I have not got a quote yet, and I'm slightly peed off about it because I want to know when my bike is fixed, because that bike has been busted for the last 2 months. The axle has been fucked on me and I can't go up the hill because the tyres keep screeching on the side of the frickin' chassis. And people look at me like I'm farting, but I'm not farting, it's the tyre doing it, and I have to point down at the tyre. So why are you farting, tyre? Stop it. So I'm a little bit annoyed. But apart from that, it's getting fixed. I'm happy. I'm glad. So that's all sorted. Right, with that, lads and ladies, I thank you ever so much for putting up with my random wackiness as usual. And yeah, I will see you all next time for some Elden Ring. It's picking up. I've gotten very far in this game. I'm loving it, and I hope you guys are too. Because honestly, Elden Ring is like that mesh between explorer's dream, like a D&D player's dream, and it's just got that beautiful satisfaction of fighting these difficult bosses, and when you finally beat them, it's that euphoric feeling you feel. Yeah, you see even rage at first, but then as it builds up, it gets released like a kettle at boiling point. It's so goddamn satisfying. So you'll be seeing an awful lot more of that, and I've got some other stuff lined up as well for you guys. So yeah, that'll be nice for you to enjoy in your own time, of course. So with that, lads and ladies, I thank you ever so much for watching, and as always, take care, my friends. Bye!